Hi there, and welcome to This Day in History for June 4th. June 4th is the 155th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, 156th in leap years, with 210 days remaining to the end of the year. Today's word is sensei. Sensei, S-E-N-S-E-I, sensei. Sensei is a noun that means teacher or a master in a field. This is another word from Japanese. In case you didn't know, sensei comes from sen, S-E-N, which means earlier, and sei, S-E-I, which means birth, earlier birth, suggesting that the teacher was born earlier and so knows more and has more experience. Earliest documented use of the word sensei, and I presume this means in English usage, is 1874. And with that, here comes that bonus word, and that is suffrage. Suffrage is a noun that means the right to vote and also the exercise of such right. This word comes to us from French, Latin before that, ultimately from Indo-European root words, which also gave us such words as break, fraction, fragile, fractal, infringe, fractious, all words that have, in some way or another, if you think about it, something to do with breaking. Why in the world would a word like this, a word about breaking or broken things, have anything to do with voting? Well, apparently, a broken piece of tile was used as a ballot in the past. First documented use of the word suffrage is 1380. So suffrage has to do with the right to vote or the exercise of such a right. A suffragist is a person who advocates that the right to vote be extended to more people, particularly to women. And a suffragette is a female suffragist. Now, what does that have to do with today? Well, a couple things. I found it interesting. There were two things that happened on June 4th that had to do with suffrage. The first one is about a woman named Emily Davison. She was an English suffragette, quite the activist. She was such an activist, she was arrested 9 times and went on 7 hunger strikes, was force-fed a number of times. But she would do this activism and these hunger strikes to draw attention to her cause, which was women's suffrage. On June 4th, 1913, she ran out in front of the horse of King George at the Derby, not the Kentucky Derby, but Derby. They have a race in England in June, the Derby, capitalized, the Derby, which is held in England in June. And she ran out in front of King George's horses at this race, and that's never a good idea. Don't run out in front of galloping horses. Unfortunately, she was trampled and died of her injuries a few days later. Oddly, she hadn't discussed any plans in this regard or given any indication as to why she would do this, but given her personal history for activism, a theory is that she may have intended to pin a suffragette banner on King George's horse. Not sure how she planned to do that with it running, but be passionate about your cause, but please don't ever run out in front of a galloping horse. So that's the first story, Emily Davison. 6 years later, on June 4th, 1919, the U.S. Congress approved the 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. It struck me as interesting. The 19th Amendment in 1919. The 19th Amendment, by the way, is the one that guarantees suffrage to women. They approved that amendment on that day and sent it along to the states for ratification. This is the birthday of a man named George Noory, born June 4th, 1950. If that name is familiar to you, you might be a coastie or an ancient alien theory aficionado or interested in unknown mysteries of the universe. If George's name doesn't ring a bell with you, I'll just tell you he's the host of a talk radio show called Coast to Coast AM. This runs live every night of the world, every night, all 7 nights, from midnight where I live to 4 a.m. In addition to Coast, he's also appeared with some regularity on History Channel's Ancient Aliens series. And he has a regular show at Gaia.com called Beyond Belief. Those are pretty interesting. On Beyond Belief, he interviews interesting people. I'd have to say one of my faves there is an interview he did with remote viewing specialist Lynn Buchanan. This is George's birthday, June 4th. Happy birthday, George Noory. And I think that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video with the link in your email, messaging, or social media. If you enjoy this series, you can check out the playlist that contains these videos. I'll put a link to that in the description. That description lives on YouTube, so for other platforms, I'll include the link to my blog page that is called No Really. You can also find me on Rumble, Parler, BitChute, and Getter. All those links in that description. Alrighty, that's all I can think of right now. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.